welcome to the bloody Vibe podcast, everybody's favourite podcast in the entire world. And we're joined by Evan from Malibu Spacey, which is one of my new favourite band names, as well as one of my new favourite bands of Melbourne. How are you?
Hey, thanks, Rhath, for having me. I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, I really should have done best band names of the year kind of list, because every time I walk past the tote, it's like Munted Chunts or something like that.
Yep.
And you're like, boom, you know, there deserves to be... There used to be in... one of those music rags, a best band names of the year. I think it was like The Onion or something like that.
Sure.
And they should do that, because Melbourne's got the best ones. Not us. I don't think we're in there, but...
I'm pretty impressed by the name.
Thank you.
But I'm surprised that there is not that does not exist at this point.
No, there's probably Malibu Stacey, but that's just a direct Simpsons reference.
Yes.
If you're not like putting a pun on it, then you're not trying hard enough.
It's also a lawsuit.
It's also the reason why I can't play music under my name, because my name's Evan Jones. It just turns out it's like super generic.
Yeah.
So there's 500. If you search on Spotify, there's like 600 Evan Joneses.
Yeah, sure. Second intro, g'day, welcome to the Vibe podcast. I forgot to mention Jason's not here because he's stuck on a train. All right, but he'll be back. Don't you worry about that. All right, love you, Jason. Smooches. Hey, before we get started, we also want to acknowledge the the custodians of the land, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I'd like to acknowledge elders past, present, and emerging. As we've been saying recently, during these tumultuous, crazy times that we're living in the world, good to even more so keep mind of the lands that we are getting to live and work and tell our stories on, where so many people in Australia and around the world have had their voices silenced. Let's keep working to make some changes.
Absolutely. Well said.
You have just released a new single as Malibu Spacey.
We have.
Danger.
Just came out about a month ago. It's always funny to see how long it takes to get from like writing to releasing a song, though. I'm
absolutely.
Sure you know.
Absolutely.
But it's great to be out there.
Yeah.
It's also hard to avoid the sort of... I'm sure as a musician, you feel like, all right, this is going to be the one, right? This is... oh yeah, here we go. And then, I don't imagine that at any level of musicianship you can ever top your own expectations.
I sort of hope so. I sort of hope that is the case.
Yeah,
because
it's where you work.
Knowing that massive musicians suffer just as much anxiety.
Yeah.
Is kind of comforting.
Yeah.
I was watching. I'm a big Adam Savage fan of Mythbusters fame.
Oh, do you watch his YouTube?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Excellent.
Me
Great.
too.
All right. Well, then this is going to be a recap of all of Adam Savage's latest episodes. But he had a segment recently talking about imposter syndrome, and he had a little story. You might have even seen this particular segment, but he had a story from, I think it was a story from another mate of his, of this guy who his first name was Neil something. He's a screenwriter, and he was at Comic-Con. And he was sat next to another Neil. And this Neil said, man, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here at Comic-Con. And he said, Neil Armstrong, I think you have every fucking right to be here.
Neil Armstrong's
sitting there freaking out, who the fuck am I? Neil goddamn Armstrong. I didn't write anything. I've not written anything. I went up in a fucking tin can to the moon. Kind of anyone can do that.
Context, though, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The thought that motherfucker is sitting there thinking, I don't have any right to be here. I think we are. It's obviously different compared to flying in a rocket ship to the moon. But the fact that we always have that anxiety that we are not good enough, the things that we do are not good enough.
I like to consider my music the oral equivalent of flying to the moon. For every time it's the first time.
And how close did you get this time?
I think we made it about halfway, and then the rocket exploded. No, I think it's good. I suppose that's the thing, right? I mean, what are your criteria for success for anything? I don't know. If you start to delve into it too much, you either pick yourself apart or you undo all the enjoyment. But no, it's been really good to just releasing music is a natural part of the whole process. And I spent a long time in my early and mid-20s writing music that never got it further than my phone notes.
Right, yeah.
And that's just that's the worst.
Yeah.
What's the point of that? So every time you release something, it's you got to celebrate that a little bit.
Yeah. So Did you when you first started releasing music, was it solo? Because you're the main songwriter of the band.
So for Malibu Spacey, I started releasing music I think I released the first song in 2017. Mm-hmm. So Zoran, who is one of the guitarists in the band, he had studied audio engineering and was a friend of a friend, and so I went around to his place and started recording some stuff, and he and I released that, but it was basically just me. And then I think I released 2 solo. And then Zoran joined officially, and then another friend joined, and then a couple of other people joined. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, it's not a solo project anymore. It's like a band. But I'm still writing the songs. Yeah. For the most part. Are you then producing the songs and then taking it to the band with already parts written, or is it now changed that they write their own parts? No, I've never, since people have joined, I never really wanted to write stuff for people. Also, Zoran is... probably, and if he listens to this, I hope he doesn't get a big head, but he's the best guitarist I know. He's kind of like, where he's clearly influenced by some guitarists that are way outside of my league, stuff like Eric Johnson and these 80s shred guys. So it's so funny to see him in the context of the band that he's in now. Yeah. But he's, you can write some, I can give some ideas, but... and Anthony, he's like a little finger-picking, folky guy, so everyone sort of works well together. I can give them ideas, but I don't think it serves the purpose of the band to do it like that. For sure. I mean, to give agency to all members, I think, is always a recipe for a better recipe for success. I also didn't want them to hate me, so... Yeah. I think if you write their parts, you probably need to pay them to play them, is my thought. Yeah, and I don't have any money. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, though, I do that now with my group. One of my groups is I write the bass lines and then give them to the bass players. But do you also give them money? I pay them from the gigs that we play. That's enough, right? That's enough. I always tell them, hey, if you don't like the bass line, change it. I'm not going to be precious about it. Yeah, for sure. But I have too much fun writing the bass line, so... I write all the songs and chords and stuff, so they can't really they have to fit within that. They can't just write, metal riffs to folk songs or whatever. I mean, you could do. That'd be pretty cool. I think there's already like psychedelia and stuff in there, so you could always up the ante a little bit with some more hardcore stuff. Yeah, for sure. Do you feel like immediately your first thought was the anxiety of releasing? Has that eased from working with a band compared to working mostly by yourself? I don't think so. I mean, well, it's funny because when I was releasing songs by myself to start with, it had been like I was in a indie band that didn't do much in my early 20s. And then after that, we broke up, sort of didn't do anything for a number of years. Yeah. And I had so much anxiety built up around that was the real imposter syndrome. Like if you don't release anything, you consider yourself a musician. Like, are you a musician? Am I a musician? No. I mean, this is what I was thinking. I was like, am I still a musician if I don't release anything? Yeah. And there's nothing out there to show for it. And so that was probably more anxiety inducing to get back into the game. Yeah. And now it's just like, I don't know, I'm trying to ignore it, but the song is about anxiety. So it's probably hard to say that I have no, the song is kind of about anxiety, but also kind of about like getting through it and from the current day feeling better about at least that kind of stuff, social anxiety. Social anxiety more than the anxiety of like releasing stuff. I don't really mind releasing stuff. Yeah. I always think though, writing songs about anxiety, about how many, I always wonder how many more anxiety songs do I write before I get over my anxiety? Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Because a lot of the time when I'm writing songs, it's sort of like, it's like halfway through writing the song without I even realize what I'm writing about. Oh, totally. And then you're like, oh, done it again. Yeah, right. Yeah, here we go. And so you can either scrap it and start again or just lean into it. But mostly they're not so like obvious. Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with like tackling the same topic again and again and again. There's always a slight twist to the angle or something like that. Yeah, and also the people who listen will always gravitate towards the certain artists who like, I only listen to rap that talks about money because I just love money so much. Everyone loves money. I bet I should write some songs about money. Yeah. Oh, I think I've written songs about my lack of money. Yeah, see, that's kind of like... Or like anti-capitalist songs, but I don't know if that's the case. Yeah. Maybe not the classic, like, gold watch kind of money. No.
I think it's a bit obnoxious anyway, especially for like just a Melbourne hipster to be rocking a gold watch. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's not the vibe.
Yeah, either you took out a very big loan for that, or that's not real.
No. If you maybe own your apartment in a Fitzroy, maybe. But then, even then, you have to know that everyone hates you.
Oh yeah, that's we can write some. Maybe we can write some songs about resenting people for having money.
I've already I've been there. I've written a few.
This is all good for me. I need some new angles for my for my lyrics, clearly.
But this single is the last one leading up to an album coming in the next year.
Yeah, so we haven't officially announced anything because so Zoran, the guitarist, is producing and engineering, recording, and it's currently getting mixed. So we're looking around about March.
Cool.
It'll be March or April. Which the mixes are just getting sort of like finalized now. And there'll probably be another single after that, I think, because this is the first time I've been making music forever, and I've only ever released EPs and singles and stuff. So this is the first time I've ever committed to a full album. So I'm like, if you just put it out there and run away, like, what happens to it then? Especially as an independent musician where you don't have like the big touring cycle and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
Which I don't imagine that I will have.
Yeah.
I'll be trying to do some tours, but I'm not going to be like doing like 40 dates of the States or whatever.
Yeah. This interview is about you, but I did just release an album.
Yes, awesome. If I had 2 hands, I'd be clapping.
Yeah,
there we go.
And huge fear around that of like putting out a project of some scale, and then just sitting back and go, all right, any minute now. Those numbers are going to start rolling in.
Yeah.
Ah, fuck, I forgot to promote it. Oh, fuck, I didn't tour the States. I didn't do anything. I got no fucking money behind it.
So when you released that, what were you thinking in terms of like, because this is all the stuff that messes with musicians' heads and causes them to recede into themselves, is all of the stuff around like promo and PR and all that kind of stuff. So did you think about it in like a really structured kind of way and here are all the things that I'm going to do? Or did you do what I do, which is to release it and then go, oh, I should probably do some promo now?
I did a little bit of the former, but to a much less degree than I have in the past. I think this is my second full-length rap project, and then there's a few other technically full albums, but they're also just like very bedroom-produced electronic things, right?
Yeah, sure.
You know, more a collection of tracks rather than like the deserving of an album cycle.
Yeah.
But I find the planning is really good if you want to make social content and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I do, and I sort of enjoy that side of things.
That's good.
But not in a way that's actually good for the algorithm. What I enjoy putting out as content does not feed into the algorithm very well.
There's so many things to consider, isn't there? Oh god.
So I don't know if the pre-planning is even that helpful for an independent artist that actually has no following.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, quote unquote no following.
Yeah.
Got my mum. Mum still listens to it, you know. So good.
My mum comes to all the shows. She'll be listening. She bought the EP. So.
Hell yeah. I think post is better. I think putting it out. I think like you want to play shows and you want to like tell people. And then they go, oh, cool. Can I listen to it?
Yeah.
You know, rather than say, oh, I've got this album coming.
Yeah.
Like, oh, cool. Can I listen to it? Like in 3 months, they've forgotten by the time the conversation's over. In my opinion, let alone in 3 months' time.
It feels like you got to keep it constantly ticking over. You got to keep things constantly ticking over. Otherwise, I mean, social media is so bad for that reinforcement. I have to delete Instagram like every day because you end up feeling like you post something and then I got to post something else, or I've been forgotten already.
100%.
But that's not really how it works. But if you look at Instagram numbers, it absolutely feels like that.
100%. And especially with numbers that are constantly changing, not even due to anything that we're doing. I spent a lot of time. I did like 3 years of posting cartoons on Instagram. And trying to build that up. Yeah. And was doing what would be considered now good numbers.
Yep.
But at the time they were piss fucking poor.
Really?
And then I was speaking to other creators at the time when it started to dip because Instagram just started not focusing on the feed
Yeah.
And we were focusing on the feed. That was our bread and butter was feed likes and comments and stuff like that. And Instagram was like, don't worry about that anymore. It's all stories now. And now it's reels. And we're like, fuck. I don't make reels. I don't know what to do. And so the numbers are changing also just because Instagram's like, that's not really working for us anymore. We're gonna do this instead.
Yeah. Well, so if they're in control, they're then just going to shift the goalpost for you. But I try to ignore that and just think about the music as sort of like wishy-washy as it sounds. But you can't ignore it. But you're trying to just think about. Just trying to be happy with. So the song that we just did is definitely the best thing that I can say that it's the best thing that I've ever released. The best song I've ever written, I think. And the best sound that I've ever got out of a record. And
it is super lush sounding. I
really
thank
like you. That. I mean, Zoran has a big sort of like kind of production style, a lot of like stereo panning and he likes very sort of clean recorded sounds and things, which is good. And it certainly has. And the other thing is having 3 guitarists in the band means you always got lots of layers and there's not, which can be, it can be hard to write for, but you do have lots of, so if people are listening to this and haven't listened to it, pay attention to how many guitars are going on in the song, especially when there's like stereo panned acoustic guitars and then 2 electric guitars and things like that.
Yeah.
But I can be reasonably happy that it's the best thing that has come out from me, at least.
I mean, that's success. Is feeling that yourself, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Because normally what happens is I'm like, oh, the song sounds good, but I don't like the lyrics, or the music sounds pretty good, but I don't love the production or whatever. But it's all come together. Yeah. And you just got to be happy with that. Yeah. And hope that other people will ideally feel the same. And
I think also those critiques of our own music are usually go unheard by the audience.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if I say like, that line is garbage, they'll be like, that's my favorite line. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. Or like my performance is terrible. Yeah. Actually, I was recording lyrics with a mate of mine, and he did his verse, and then I went back and changed my verse, or my delivery of my verse, because his resonance is better. And so I was like, man, he starts with a real deep voice. I want to try and I've come in really nasally, so I'm like, I've got a nasally voice.
Oh, I feel that.
I'm gonna work. I'll work into the nasally, but I'll start a bit softer and lower. And I told that to him. He's like, nah, man, like I can only hear your voice for what your voice is, so I can't imagine it being any better. Yeah. And I think that's how the audience hears it. Yeah. It's as convincing as it is, because they're not picturing you doing better. They're just like, that's what they sound like.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes sense.
And it's similar when it comes to sort of like what the lyrical content is. I mean, not that I necessarily subscribe to it, but I know guys like Bob Dylan are particularly averse to ever explaining what their songs are about, because they're basically like, you figure it out. You relate to it in whatever way you want to. But I also really like I went to see an artist called Laura Jean recently, who played at Northcote Social Club. Amazing show. And she was explaining what all the songs are about. And for me, that makes me feel really close to them. But I do understand how some, particularly lyricists, they don't want to explain it, because people pick up their own meaning and they derive their own kind of like relationship to what's been written, even if it's wrong. You know, you might really love a song because you feel happy, and the songwriter was like feeling so sad. And so you don't want to take that away from them necessarily. Well, I don't feel like that. I like explaining what my stuff is about. But I understand.
Yeah, I definitely see the benefits to both. And I think it's just totally personal preference. It might be easier to get people to quickly relate to you with a bit more explanation.
That's kind of how I feel. Yeah.
I think to be really abstract without any explanation, which I think I fall into quite often, is people are like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I know.
I have forgotten. I can't remember what I've written about.
Yeah, you forget what you've even written about. And I guess it's kind of different if you feel like you only have one chance to show someone a song. You kind of want to be like, if you're like, these people are never going to hear this again, potentially never hear this again, they're not going to have the chance to understand what the lyrics are about.
That's why I like it live. I do like it live. I think like within the context of an album, like that's great for hopefully people are going to listen to it a few times and we'll get either deeper meaning or alternate meaning just from your own material. But live, you don't know who these fucking people are.
Yeah, exactly. And
they sell it.
And I mean, live, I find it hard to hear the lyrics live often anyway, but...
100%.
Yeah.
Coming from a hip-hop background in this current time of my life. Drives me fucking insane going to gigs and just can't hear a fucking word they're saying. Like, what?
I know.
Here's the point.
Yeah,
what are we doing?
Well, yeah, it's like good beats though.
Oh yeah, great beats.
But
it slaps.
Couldn't hear the lyrics. The best thing I've discovered, and this is just so old now, earplugs. Like good, proper, fitted earplugs. Everyone listening, go out and get them. Even if you don't, just go to shows, get 100%. Them. They're so much better. You can hear everything.
I feel so bad for myself now after so many years of just being in loud band rooms and fucking it up.
I know, and that's the cymbals and
the,
being at band practice and standing like 2 meters away from a drum and
thinking, this is sick. This is rock and roll.
Yeah, this is how rock and roll works.
It's rock and roll when you're 17. It's not rock and roll when you're 30.
No.
How was your show at Cactus? You did a Christmas show.
That was good. That was the hottest show I've ever played.
Yeah.
I liked it. Cactus is a cool place.
Cactus is my favorite venue in town. Easy.
But it was such a hot. I've never sweated so much. But it was also probably because it was a Christmas show, so you got to get a little Christmassy. So we brought on stage some Christmas get-ups, as was the prompting from Nonna's Kitchen, who hosted it. So they put it on for Asylum Seeker Resource Centre, which is really, really good initiative. But I was wearing like a Santa hat and I don't. This is the thing. I see like it's particularly that like Brooklyn hipster look where they're always wearing beanies.
Oh,
I'm like, how are you wearing a beanie on stage all the time?
No, it makes no fucking sense.
Yeah.
Even wearing a cap on stage when I'm playing bass and shit. It comes off song two. I can't do it.
I know it's a look, obviously, but it's kind of like
I want to look my best.
Yeah, I know. And I tell you, I wasn't looking my best in the Santa hat.
That's not going to become like a normal part of your get-up?
No. A friend of mine commented on the photos that I posted, I look like Anthony Fantano. So, which, I mean, isn't the dude's like bald, isn't he? Like, but I guess when I'm wearing a hat, it kind of makes me look like bald. It kind of makes me look bald. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's like, you know, look, I'm not Anthony Fantano. He's got good opinions. If you're listening, Anthony.
Oh, I'm sure that he is. I know he's got his eye on the Melbourne scene, and the best way to do so is through this very podcast.
Exactly. Well, he's diving deep to find the deep cuts for all of us.
I think he's got better things to do.
Yeah. No. Yeah, he probably does.
He is the, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean this in like, I love a character, and his body shape is the most unique. He's the most rotund boy in.
If he was listening, he's definitely not now. Or he's very quickly doing a to-camera response to this.
I think he knows. I think he's called himself a barrel of a man before.
Okay, he's not like, ooh.
No. I definitely
Anthony.
don't mean that he is pudgy in any way. I know he's working out.
He's solid, yeah.
But he's just a solid boy.
Brick shit house.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
blows my mind. I think it's always on my mind because you see from the shoulders up in the reviews, and then you see a proper body shot. Like he does all those squatting shots on his Instagram. I'm like, the fuck is what is happening?
You're obviously much more familiar with his work. I just basically I don't watch his stuff. Or again, I'm sorry, Anthony, which I know you are listening. I don't listen to his stuff. I know that he has a lot of opinions about records.
That's his job.
But I do sometimes wish I had more like avenues to find new music like that. That is good. I've started reading like music press again.
Oh, right.
I mean, it's just like I'll pick up a beat or something when I'm sitting around. But back in the old days, there used to be a bunch of them. Yeah. Like Drum and In Press and all those.
Oh, I forgot about Drum.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has, and there's probably probably a lot of people out there who are too young to remember Drum. Not me. If the only alternative is to find it through like Spotify algorithms, I'm like, I just can't. It's not the only way.
I was thinking about that on the way here because I'm looking for, I don't know what I'm looking. I'm looking for something abstract in the hip hop realm. Yeah, but I'm looking at my Spotify. I'm going to the related artists to all my favorites. I'm like, I know all these guys, but I know that there is a plethora, endless ocean of weird shit on like Bandcamp and stuff like that. And but how do we
Well, see,
How do we find it? How
there's
do we
got to be
troll for it?
someone very similar to yourself, sifting through and leading people in the right direction. I'm sure that you do that in your own kind of way.
Yeah.
So it's probably just about, grassroots connections. I was just talking about like reading Pitchfork and stuff again. I stopped reading it for years because everyone was like, "Oh."
At this point, it's
so
going to
bad.
become more and more niche. Like
Yeah.
old press is going to become like, "Oh wow,
I know.
I've never heard of that. What is that? That's fascinating."
I stopped reading Pitchfork around the time where they gave. Do you remember that the second Jet album?
Yeah.
Anyway, Shine On. They gave it a
Yeah.
review, which was just a video of a monkey pissing in its own mouth.
Mate, that record's got some fucking banging tunes.
I'm not saying that I agree with that. In fact, that was
Yeah.
that was a sort of like the jumping the shark for online music press. Now everything they do is somewhere between like 6.6 and like 8.1.
yeah.
So it's sort of like gone the other way, where it's all just converged. Everything's good. Everything's pretty good to really quite good now.
I feel like a very different world, but the same as like IGN gaming used to be.
I used to read the IGN all the time.
And now it's the lowest rate. Like if you give a 7 to something, then like you have a horde of angry fans descending upon you, saying, "What the fuck are you doing?" I mean, Anthony Fantano deals with that shit all the fucking time. Like just hordes of fans coming down at him because like, "What the fuck do you mean it's a 7? It's easily a 9."
I know. But if you could try and quantify anything, you're going to annoy someone.
Yeah.
It's like it's all subjective. However, if someone gave me a 7 on Pitchfork, I'd be chuffed.
Oh, I'd be so fucking happy.
So happy. I'd be stoked.
Anything above a 2, I'm like, oh, that's pretty good.
Even
actually.
a 2, I put that on my tombstone. That's great. I'm saving that up for my epitaph.
I mean, like when you're dealing with a reviewer, like you're looking for someone that like Anthony Fantano, I think is. Because it's him on camera all the time. And you can see all of his other content, like him giving his worldview, his politics, and all this kind of stuff. You get an idea of who he is. And so then that is my gauge of like, if he doesn't like something, I'll sometimes go, oh, I'm going to like that.
Yeah.
Because I know what he's like.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to like that.
I mean, that's kind of good to understand that it is very much based on someone's personality and personal opinions, but then it gets really annoying because it's so funny because obviously in reasonably controversial circumstances, Richard Kingsmill is no longer the musical director of Triple J. He's been ousted by the new.
When did this happen?
Like last week.
Oh shit! Then I'm very out of the loop. Okay.
Kingsmill's gone. And
he's been there for a long time,
and he's
right?
been there for like 30 years.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were like, oh, that's bad. But some people I know were posting that they were like, well, good riddance because you never played the music that I liked or whatever. And it's easy to just like hate on one individual person for being a tastemaker or whatever it is.
Well, because he was he the main
he was
music
the main
coordinator?
dude. I think he was the music director, head of music programming.
Okay, then I definitely know. Yeah, then I definitely know who we're talking about. Because I've heard that like that's sort of like the ultimate gatekeeping position.
Yeah,
I
and
get
that's
to
how a lot of
decide
people.
Australian music.
That's how a lot of people felt. They were like, particularly if you've ever tried to get your music on Triple J and you just went cold. You're like those kinds of people are just like you're the worst, Kingsmill, because you didn't play my band. You didn't play my band, Kingsmill. Good riddance. But obviously you can't play literally everything.
No.
And I haven't listened to it. I've well aged out of Triple J, but even back when I was appropriate, I didn't like it all that much.
No.
And you just have to. It's okay.
I mean, what am I trying to say here? I don't know. Like, I guess once you get to a certain size, like it is impractical. It is impractical to try and be like, oh, we're going to showcase everything, and we're going to be really weird and abstract and.
Yeah, I mean that's what I guess community radio is best at.
Sure, of course,
because they have some really random stuff, which is kind of good.
Yeah,
but you couldn't play that, avant-garde like music on Triple J.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've actually never really been a big radio person. I did a little bit of community radio when I was younger.
Yeah,
and that was probably the most experience I've had with radio, even listening. Besides, I've listened to a lot of Jazz FM and a lot of classical FM.
Yeah, nice.
Because it was always on in my dad's kitchen, which I still love both of those channels.
I never really listened to much radio either, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
My parents always had 3AW on talkback radio, you know, like playing. Like, I'm sorry, Mum, if she's listening, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
So I was never really into that.
Yeah,
never
yeah,
really
yeah.
listened to all that kind of stuff, and it's very like self-contained. Those worlds of music radio.
Yeah.
They play the stuff they like. That's all right.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it's the point. Like, again, I guess it's like learning what reviewers you like. Like,
Yeah.
It is actually good to stick to the things that you do.
It's kind of like confirmation bias. You're like, this guy that I like is playing all the music I like.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
everyone, I've got good taste.
Isn't it, that's my least favorite thing to do with Spotify radio is go on to like an artist that I like, and then all of my other artists I like play. I'm like, my God, my taste is really predictable, isn't it?
Yeah. It does make you feel a little bit like that, but that's okay. That's all right.
But I've started listening to Triple R over the past maybe 6 months to a year.
That's cool.
Which is the first time I've ever listened to radio properly.
Yep.
All thanks to my partner, because she's driving around town now as a technician for coffee machines.
Yep.
And so she's on the road. What's on? Tune into Triple R. And now I get it, because holy shit, you're listening and then there's an ad for a band that I know at a venue that I know.
I know.
Oh, that's fucking cool.
I know.
That makes you feel really good.
And when I get played on the radio, it feels really good. Even if it's like Triple R PBS or something. You're like, that's great.
I was nearly in tears when I got played on Triple R. That was my first radio play. Was in like the last 2-3 months, I think.
Congratulations.
And like, oh my God,
feels good,
I died.
And I also think, like, seriously, it is nice to let yourself feel like proud of that kind of stuff.
For sure.
Because as you were talking about before, it can feel really difficult when you release music to feel like successful or whatever. But those little moments of self-reflection, I think, are what can keep you going.
Absolutely. I downloaded it onto my computer.
So good.
I've clipped the section.
Yeah.
To hear Chris Gill say my name was just like, holy.
Dude, that's so
holy
good. And he's such a legend
shit.
as well.
I know.
You know, I see him around town because obviously he's got the most recognizable hair in town.
yeah.
I see him all the time. There's just Chris Gill over there.
But he's just a guy that works at a record store, you know?
Not too far away from here. You could just go and say hello to him at Northside now.
He'll be working there.
Yeah, of course. It's his job.
He's so funny.
Yeah.
I assume he also gets that all the time. I assume he gets bands coming in, buying records, and like, hey, you fucking played us on the radio, like, meant the fucking world to me.
I know.
And you're
Yeah,
like,
probably.
"Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah,
No worries."
probably. But it's good to have. I think that's kind of really important for the Melbourne scene, is to have that. You know, these are real people with like that are really supporting local artists, not just like someone all the way. You know, if you get played on radio in America, it's like you don't know that people. Why do we care about that?
Yeah.
When you can go have a chat to Chris Gill, who actually has the best taste in music.
Yeah. 100%.
Recommended me and my partner some really good records last time we went in there, which was a while ago. Some Cool and the Gang and stuff like that.
Hell yeah.
That first Cool and the Gang record is like instrumental, and it's one of the best.
Okay.
You'd
I'll
probably
check it out.
sample that.
Oh, I will. I'm getting into my try and clear shit. So I'm sampling everything now. I think also like it just makes it tangible to, because we have obviously grown up as the internet has also grown up with us.
Yeah.
And then all of our anxieties get put into these numbers on Instagram or what have you.
I know, absolutely.
And we see all of the international artists. We were talking about this on the last episode of the podcast, I think, about like, we were saying about like on Spotify, technically speaking, we are on the same playing field. She's very far away from us, but we're technically on the same playing field as Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
She's over there.
Yes.
And we're still on the same playing field.
I suppose that is true. That's a good way of looking at it.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
It's very nice. And I will forever be grateful that I grew up in the time of the internet. Thank fuck.
It is a great leveler in some regards.
The fact that we can just put out shit is fucking cool.
Yeah.
The fact that we can put it out and it's on the same playing field and we can put out weird shit under our own steam is really, really cool. But it's also so, I don't know, maybe it's always been as daunting, but I think like now, like you can see those people on your platforms that you're using and go, okay, I might be able to get there. But it's so intangible. It's so impractical.
Yeah.
But then you hear local bands that you know, and you probably know the people in those bands. You go and have beers with them down at the pub, and then you hear them playing on Triple R, and people like Chris Gill are like, oh yeah, they're playing at the fucking Corner Hotel. And you go, oh shit, I know the Corner. I know Chris Gill. I know that guy. Holy fuck, that's crazy. This could happen.
Yeah.
I could at least play the Corner Hotel.
Maybe that's. I mean, that is pretty much what I always think. You're like, well, I could do that. I could do that.
And wouldn't that be enough?
I don't know that there ever is enough, is there?
No.
I think that as soon as you achieve anything, there's something else down the line. I mean, Taylor Swift probably doesn't feel satisfied with her stuff.
True.
Not that I am feeling sorry for Taylor Swift, who's obviously the biggest artist. I think literally the highest streamed artist in the world. Yeah. So she's doing. It's fair to say Taylor's doing all right. But she's probably still thinking, oh, I'd love to win another 10 Grammys or something like that.
I mean, she's clearly pushing. Like, she's clearly like not settling, because like if she could just leave her records up and just roll around in royalty money all day long and go, this is fantastic.
I know.
But she keeps doing the biggest tours of all time.
And re-recording her old albums.
I really fucking like that.
It's a really interesting concept. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it. I don't know if anyone else has done that. Obviously, this was like contractual and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's such an interesting concept to go back and re-record an album. Do you know any examples of that?
None come to mind.
No.
None come to mind. I think there's been remasters that are more closely tied to the artist, like they're more involved. But I don't know about actually like re-recording. No.
Oh, actually, I think U2 did something like that recently.
Oh shit!
They did, didn't they? Yeah.
The motherfucker from Pink Floyd as well. What's his name?
David Gilmour, Roger Waters.
Yeah, one of those two. One of those two remade Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, it's probably Roger Waters, isn't it?
I think it was Roger Waters, and I think it was Anthony Fantano. So I'm stealing his opinion. Most of my music opinions are his.
That's all right.
Apparently, he's bad. Apparently, he's just really not so good.
Roger Waters.
Yeah.
Roger Waters has attracted a lot of criticism over the years for being a bit of a pompous dick, and also for being one of the, and I don't want to take things in a particularly political direction, but being
this podcast is all about it.
Oh, well, he's one of those artists that sort of unapologetically has played Israel.
Oh, fuck off then. Fuck right off.
So you know how obviously, you know,
we're doing a Palestine fundraiser next radio thing. So
cool.
Please, go ahead.
Well, obviously for I don't know how long it's been that artists have been boycotting touring Israel, but you know, at least the last couple of decades.
Yeah.
And for all of that period of time, he's sort of been like, I don't know what his opinion is, but he certainly has not bowed to the general pressure, and so that doesn't contribute well to his public image, and also the fact that I think he's just a bit of a controlling dick.
Yeah.
And his songs aren't the best ones. I like David Gilmour's songs. Anyway, so those are two things that are wrong with Roger Waters. We'll discuss some more. Who else do you hate?
Join us next time. We'll take down another famous artist. David Bowie. He was a bit shit.
Oh, that would be a great concept for a podcast. Big artists we hate. And here are some shit things about them.
Are there any off the top of your head that just like, I just cannot get behind this artist?
Not for reasons like that. I really like, and this would be saying a lot, I really loved one of my seminal bands for me is the Smiths. But obviously in recent years, Morrissey has become like a bit of a right-wing dipshit.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a tattoo of Morrissey on my arm from when I was in my early 20s, and it's kind of like it's kind of hard to reconcile some of those opinions, which as far as I was aware, I didn't really know about them. Yeah. With you know the amazing art that someone creates with those terrible opinions. And I think a lot of people are in a similar boat with a lot of like old English guys like Eric Clapton and stuff who
he was on my list of artists. Fuck that motherfucker.
And
I don't get
it's like I don't have the same reverence for Eric Clapton. His music is pretty good, but it's never like you know the Smiths are like one of the best bands as far as I'm concerned. But you know Eric Clapton obviously a dipshit.
Yeah. He can play the guitar. That's the only thing I can see going for him. Apart from
Yeah.
that, I don't see him as a creative force or anything like that changed much.
I know. I've got some off.
Obviously, I wasn't there in that era, but like,
I've got some off-color jokes to tell you about Eric Clapton, but we can talk about them off mic if you like. But I can't think of any others, but I'm sure there are. I think maybe Van Morrison was in that vein as well, but it's mostly just like older white dudes who are now like so rich and famous that they're like, I can say racist things and no one can touch me.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do about it? I'm Eric Clapton.
Do we think then it's maybe good that in this era, I don't know. This is it's a double. I hate to use the double-edged sword analogy, but double-edged sword.
It's a classic.
Of like, because I guess like Kanye got he went down.
Kanye.
He went down the political rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Once he was already stupidly famous, right?
Yeah.
But like, maybe it's kind of good now that we can see our artists coming up and we can start to idolize them, but then we can look at their tweets and shit and go,
Yeah.
oh, pull them back a little bit.
That's very true. It depends how like obvious and honest people are.
Yeah.
And I imagine that there's some amount of those opinions that only exist once you get to a certain point where you're like, if I'm a young up-and-comer struggling, like Morrissey grew up in Manchester in the 70s in like super poor conditions. And yet those are the same sorts of like conditions where immigrants are now living and he doesn't, want them to live like that or whatever. But so I kind of feel like some people get rich and famous and then become like,
and then lose their mind.
A dipshit.
Yeah.
I don't know about Kanye. He sort of strikes me as the kind of person that always was a little bit just like...
Oh, yeah. I think...
controversial.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's just always been controversial and then lost his mind through fame. And that leads to...
Yeah.
Yeah, taking whatever's going.
I would like the opportunity to lose my mind through fame. And just to see how it would go. I'm like, I can always pull back. I just want the opportunity.
I've had that... I've had that thought. Like, I've wanted to be a successful, famous musician since I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And then I think to myself now, I'm like, my political views, I think are great. Obviously, I agree with them all. I wonder how they would have developed if I had become famous at 18.
Yeah.
Like that.
If you were worried about like someone taking your money through taxes or whatever it was.
Oh, 100%. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's funny because a lot of the musicians in the 60s, taxes were high in England, so they sort of bailed and went to other countries now and stuff like that. They went in like tax exiles. That would be a little bit sort of iffy now. Not necessarily, not wrong in the same way that racism is wrong, but just a bit weird.
I say they're equal issues, damn it.
High taxes are the same as race.
And that's the podcast. Thank you very much.
Not endorsed by me.
Where are we at? I think that...
On that note...
I think that might be the wrap-up point. Is there anything you would like to plug? Obviously, the single, which is in the description. I always forget to put links, but I guarantee the link will be in there.
Pop a link. I'll be doing it. We haven't got any shows lined up until February, so I haven't got anything like end of February. We've got a support slotted, and I can't even remember what the date is. Oh no, I can remember what the date is because it's the most auspicious date of February, which is to say. February 29, which only comes around once every 4 years because this next year is apparently a leap year.
There you go. So it's nice and easy to remember.
Yeah. So we'll be playing the Bergie Band Room, supporting a band called the Sleep Ends.
Beautiful.
That's February 29. And other than that, we're just going to be rolling in to the new year.
Keep the eyes peeled for the album.
Yeah, exactly. And there will be an album. Please check out the single.
Yes.
That's all I can say.
Danger is in the link below. This has been the Vibe Union podcast. Fucking make sure you check out our Patreon. There's no bonuses, but we make no money, so give us some.
Oh, give them money.
There's a poetry book. You can buy that. I think that's bloody it. Hey, thanks so much for being part of this. Thanks so much for coming on.
Cheers, Rhath. Appreciate it, man.
Cool.
Catch you.
Music by Sixpence. All right, bye.